What is up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast with my co-host with the day, Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters. We are the Cinemax Synergy, and this is where we go once a month, alternating picks for a movie we select and sit down and review it for you all. Thank you for being here again, my good friend.
Well, thank you for having me. Love doing this show with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's definitely a blast. This time around, it was my selection. I chose John Carpenter's 1976 film Assault on Precinct 13. Obviously, we both have seen the remake done, I think, 2005. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get there. But for now, we'll focus on the original. Released in 1976, it stars Austin Stoker, Darwin Jolston, Laurie Zimmer, Martin West, Tony Burton, Charles Cyphers, Nancy Loomis, and also Kim Richards as the young girl, Kathy Lawson, who she went to do a movie called Tough Turf in the 80s, which is a great film. So, so it's kind of a neat little thing there. So basically, the premise here is there's this precinct that's closing down, Precinct 13. They're moving it to another location in Los Angeles. And this gang, which has been, I think some of their members got killed by police officers earlier in the week. And so there's some remaining members, four of them particularly, that start out to where they're cutting themselves and making like a bond pact that they're going to go and just kill a bunch of people. Yeah. So they start out and they just start killing random people at the beginning and eventually make this assault and attack on this precinct that's only being housed by a couple of people because obviously most of the people are gone. So this was your first time seeing this, right? This particular version?
Yeah.
So absolutely, what was your initial reaction while watching this?
Well, first and foremost, it's made by John Carpenter. And, of course, John Carpenter, legendary filmmaker, composer. And one thing I felt like, I don't know if you had the same vibes with this, the way this film starts. It starts off in black, and then you hear his music score, which he composed the music for this film. And then it's a beautiful, music score that gets you into the mood of the movie straight, at opening credits. And then as it opens up, I was getting vibes of the Warriors for some reason. Because, there's just something about the music and the setting and just like the atmosphere and, the ambience of the film. And like you say, it starts off with the LAPD who, they're stopping these gang members, I think, raiding to steal weapons like guns, and they shoot them down. And then you have that moment where the gang leaders, who are like the warlord gang leaders, there's four of them, are sitting there doing this blood pact. So going into this, obviously I've seen the remake. Going into this, I thought, this is quite unique and different. I like the atmosphere, especially with the warlords, because when they're sitting there around doing the blood oath after they've seen some of the men killed, they don't speak. There's no words. Literally everything's done via, emotion, and everything's done through physical acting. Physically, just the look of their eyes, like doing the blood oath. And so the start of the movie and how this film, captured us like emotionally and like grabbed me attention, I thought a great beginning.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way that they, as you said, the way to communicate isn't really by words. It's just like they kind of know, like it's almost robotic how they go about it, just because they understand that, like, it's almost like they have like a sense of brainwashing duty or something to fulfill this goal that they have to, go and attack and avenge their other mates. And so we also have Lieutenant Ethan Bishop, who is being sent to Precinct 13 to basically hold the fort and for the night before the power shuts down and make sure that everything goes smoothly. But as the night goes on, this bus full of convicts comes along, and one of them is Napoleon Wilson, who's basically going to be sent to execution for killing a bunch of men or something. So he's being kind of like questioned by I forget who the main dude was.
So you've got Napoleon Wilson. By the way, cool fucking name.
Yeah.
I love that name, Napoleon Wilson. That's just an amazing name. You've got Charles Cypher. He plays Officer Stalker. So
Yeah,
Officer Stalker is the one who is being given the job of transporting the guard, these prisoners from one prison to the main penitentiary. And obviously one of them suddenly gets ill on the boat, on the bus, the transport bus. And, you know, the other guy saying to him, he's really ill, you should get him checked out. So there's no that, because they're like traveling and they're like 6 hours away from the penitentiary, there's no other closer precinct in the area. So they take them to the one that's about to be shut down. And obviously, as they go there, there's other events that transpire. So in the end, you end up having these, I think, 4 or 5 cops, police officers, the 2 secretaries, Lee and I think Julie, and then the 3 remaining convicts, and then everything else that's going around them later on throughout the course of the film.
Yeah, it should be noted that Cyphers, who plays Starker, he's also the sheriff in Halloween 1 and 2. That are also Carpenter's work. So that's a little tie-in there with that. But yeah, so Bishop gets sent to the precinct. Now, before this, like in the afternoon, those 4 individuals from the gang, they're just driving around. And, you know, right now it's the one white dude in the back. Like if you look at the little picture there, he's in the back there. He's probably pretty good with a sniper rifle. Whether or not he has any background in that, I don't know. But he's kind of messing around and putting a scope on different people as they're driving, not really firing. But eventually they been following this ice cream truck. And they end up confronting the truck driver of that and eventually shoot him. But then, like, again, the white guy is walking past where the front door and the driver's is, and this is where Kim Richards' character, Kathy Lawson, is. Her dad's in the phone booth making a call, and she's like, "I got the wrong type of ice cream," and he just turns around and shoots her. Now, I can understand, like at the time, this would have been very controversial for movie viewers and reviewers because of you're killing a kid right on camera. Not in real life, but just in the impression and the way the stories go. So it's effective. It's very effective on what's happening.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, obviously the story of Lawson, he's taking his daughter into this really bad neighborhood to start off with. And he's telling her to lie to her mother because they're going to rescue the babysitter or something like that, which I found very strange. Like the setup for them too. And then obviously the gang are doing like aiming practice in the back of the car, like the white dude with the blonde hair. And then for some odd reason, they target a ice cream truck driver, which I thought was strange. I don't know if they were like loan sharks and he owed them money or something like along the lines of that because he did say, "I'll have your money," when they pinned him against the truck and put the gun in his mouth. And then later on, he turns back up and he aims to shoot him and he does kill him. And she's standing there and she goes, "Oh, you give me the wrong," and with no hesitation, he just aims and pulls the trigger. And then you just see the splatter of blood on her dress and she falls to the ground, which, like you mentioned, for its time, that would have been very shocking and very graphic.
Yeah.
And it's very rare you see like a kid physically get killed on camera in movies and television because of censorship these days. So I appreciate that they had the guts to do something that back in the day.
Yeah, it was, obviously I remember the kind of like the uproar about it, and obviously, but, kudos to Carpenter. He took chances and wanted to kind of shock the audience. And you brought up the Warriors, and the thing is, this came out about 3 years before the Warriors did. So I'm wondering if it had some influence on the Warriors in terms of gangs taking over the city and stuff like that. So but yeah, it is funny about the Lawson thing too at the beginning, because he's driving with his daughter and he's kind of like giving her like a speech that she's supposed to say to her mom. And at first I'm thinking, is he like a pedo? Is he like trying to make it sound like, we were doing something like going to the zoo? But he wasn't doing that. It was just because I guess he's getting separated or something, or was going to help the babysitter come stay.
They were going to rescue the babysitter or the cake, whatever, the babysitter, the nanny. Sorry, that's it, the nanny. But it made me think as well. Was he doing something with the nanny, with the babysitter? Was there something going on there with the babysitter and the nanny he didn't want the wife to know about? Because there's no real other explanation. It just left up the audience,
interpretation.
Interpretation of what's actually going on. But then obviously the downfall is he loses his daughter.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about this, and I'll kind of get your thoughts on it as we go along, but he sees that his daughter's dead, and he is distraught and upset. But there's two ways to look at this. One, because we see this with Lay, that one of the secretaries also. The way they behave in this film is not your normal like panic that you would see on people, like, or breakdown. So in this case, like, he doesn't like scream, he doesn't cry necessarily, but he gets angry. And then of course the ice cream truck guy, he's like, I have a gun under the dash, because he knows he probably needs to go kill these guys to say, to avenge his daughter. So he does that, and he's actually chasing them through the city, following them around. But the same thing with Leia, like, dude, there's a scene later that we'll talk about inside the precinct where she gets shot in the arm and she just doesn't even budge. Like, it's crazy.
And
like,
there's no like emotional. There's no emotion. It's very odd behavior. It's
and
like,
I don't know, like, I don't know if Carpenter was just going from like a shock standpoint, which would make some sense, or if he just didn't get out of them the type of emotion he wanted to. I don't know, but I would assume it's the shock aspect.
But when it comes to Janet and Lee, who are the two secretaries, I can understand kind of what he did there with them two, because you had Lee, I think's the one that got shot, which we'll talk about, but she was always panicky and full of emotion, always scared.
That's Julie. Julie's the one who ends up dying.
Julie's the one who, completely scared and panicking and panicky, where Lee is very together. She's like, doesn't panic. She's in control of her emotions. Maybe that was what they were trying to do with them two. Show one is like a panicking, damsel in distress type character, the other one being a strong, confident, in control woman. So maybe they were trying to show basically two different women with two different ways of dealing in a stressful situation.
Yeah, and that's probably a good observation, because even some of the inmates that they had brought in to the precinct from that bus, even they acted more crazy or scared than Lay did. So I kind of like that Carpenter was able to kind of diverse the emotional output from each character. So obviously, as you mentioned, one of the inmates is sick. They don't know exactly what's going on. They don't know if it's contagious. So they end up pulling up at the precinct and telling Bishop that, they need to hold there for a little bit until they can get like an ambulance or a paramedic to come look at this guy. And Bishop's like, initially, he's like, hey, dude, if you just go 10 blocks up, you can get to like an actual, brand new station. But he's like, we just don't have time for that. And I'm like, dude, that's 10 blocks. It ain't that far. But to make the movie go along, they have to be there. So they put them in the cells, and, they go about their business. And of course, this is when after I should come back to Lawson, who's been chasing these four guys in his car, and eventually he catches up on them. So at the end again, when he finally does, the white boy comes out of the back of the car, and he's got his gun, and then Lawson just shoots him like a few times, which was amazing because again, I go back to how these guys operate in terms of their communication and how they're just so stoic and like they're robotic. And so he just like, he doesn't really budge when he gets shot, but he just falls back and dies.
Yeah, he doesn't even yell out or scream. You mentioned how the warriors could have been inspired by it. It's starting to make me realize because of their behavior, like the warlords of the gang. Maybe James Cameron was inspired to do Terminator. How Arnold Schwarzenegger behaved, like if he got punched or kicked or shot, he showed no emotion. He just walked in a straight line and acted like nothing bothered him. Very mechanic, very robotic. And so the behavior of the gang leader, even in his death, was very strange.
Yeah, so Lawson kills the white guy, obviously, who's the one that killed his daughter, but he goes to the payphone because I think he wants to call the cops, but the other three from the car start pursuing him. So he starts running. Excuse me. And so then he finally ends up at the precinct. He's there and he gets in and he's just exhausted from running and tells them that there are guys outside. And what I don't know how happened, the three guys come up, but then there's like a ton of other ones that somehow knew they were there. So
it's like at the beginning, how the film began, you just assumed when those six got killed by the LAPD in the assault at the beginning, the warlords, the four remaining, they were all who were left. But then all of a sudden, when he's outside, when they go out to check on the bus and get the bus driver, and there's the shooting and they've got the silencer guns, there's suddenly like a marauder of gang members that just appear out of nowhere, and you're like, well, where the fuck did they come from?
I mean, there was a lot of them too. I'm like, holy shit, who made the call? But so Lawson gets in. He's telling them what's going on. There's a couple other like desk cops there, and of course there were some cops that were on the bus. But the one of the desk cops goes to look outside, and he ends up getting shot. And it's quiet. Like there's a lot of silencers. I don't know where the fuck they got the silencers from, but you think they were assassins or something. But either way, they shoot him, and of course Julie looks out there and she's like, well, he fell down. Like, she doesn't understand he got shot. She thinks he just fell. So Bishop goes out there, and they miss him with the shots. He starts understanding what happened, runs back in, and this is when they start taking up arms to try to prevent them from coming over and attacking the precinct. So obviously, because there's more than one entry, so like near where the bus was in I guess it's like a garage or something. They start trying to come in, and they kill some of the other cops from the bus, and they killed Starker. So then their numbers are dwindling down. So they've got the inmates still in their cells, but go ahead.
No, like you say, it's like all of a sudden like an all-out attack on the precinct, and you're like, the people in the, like, there's people who you don't think are gonna get killed. It's like, and that's another thing I like about this film, is the fact that most films, like modern films or whatever, you'll see, like, if it's got like a list of stars, you generally like know, like, I'm not being funny, if I seen Sean Bean on the poster of a film, he's gonna get killed. There's certain actors, but in this, because back in the day, these would have been strong names all working together in one film. So the unpredictability of who was going to get out alive and die was really interesting, especially the setup with Stalker as well, like how he was like the guy who was transporting the prisoner, and he was kind of calm, cool, and collected, but he kind of knew that he could handle himself. And then
it was just so interesting because they spent that time while they were on the bus, and Starker's like, well, I'm gonna go talk to Wilson, and he has this like really deep conversation with Wilson. He understands that like Wilson isn't normally a violent guy, and he's trying to figure out why this guy ended up killing all these people. And so I'm thinking, wow, you're setting this whole thing up where Starker is kind of like this understanding cop, and then within minutes he's like gone from the movie. So like you said, it is a surprise at some of the deaths that happened in it.
Yeah, definitely.
So once, obviously once some of the cops from the bus and Starker end up dying, Bishop realizes that he can't and Lee can't just hold down the fort by themselves. They've got to be able to get some help. So obviously they have Wilson out there, but they end up going and having Lee let the other inmates out and to help them as well. Now, I forget the guy's name, but one of them was a black guy who was just kind of like, at some point he's like, dude, I can't stay here. But, Lay talks him into it, like, look, we got to work together.
I think it was Wells.
It could be.
So that's Wells, and he was played by Tony Burton, who was Apollo Creed's trainer in the Rocky films.
I did think I recognized him. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I was saying that while I was watching the film. I was like, he looks like the trainer from Rocky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Tony Burton, and he plays Wells. So Napoleon Wilson, Wells are the two prisoners, and the one who got killed, I think he was called Cordell.
Yeah.
Cordell. He was the one who was sick. So Cordell also meets his end, which is hilarious because he's handcuffed to the cop, and the cop's trying to get his handcuff on after he's being shot. And then as they turn on the stairs, he ends up getting shot anyway in the back. So
yeah, well, at least now he doesn't have to worry about his cold anymore.
Yeah.
So really from this point on, it's more of just, them batting the hatches down and then, basically closing themselves into the precinct. There's some nice moments where I thought this was kind of a cool moment. The gangs outside basically start pushing cars across the street as using them like as cover. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. This movie, despite the fact that it's kind of still like the modern day in 1976, it has like dystopian feel about it. This is something that Carpenter does a lot. It's very dystopian. And it's almost like a precursor to what you could have said to yourself, was this like some sort of semi-prequel to Escape from New York, like what they ended up doing, just taking all the prisoners and putting them in the New York, Manhattan area.
Yeah, it does feel like it's like in the middle of nowhere in this ramble dystopian city, and there's like these are the last remnants of the city left, and they're fighting for their lives against, like, it feels like it's a mixture of what Carpenter's known for. Also feels kind of Mad Max kind of feel. Like the first Mad Max film when the nuclear bomb happens and the world's destroyed.
Very
and
gritty.
You've got like he's like fighting just that street gang in the first film. It feels very much like that.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, like I said, you got these gangs, they're pushing cars across the street to keep cover because they know that the cops and the people inside have guns as well. Sometimes they try to come through windows, and Wilson's actually pretty good with the shotgun, so he's like blowing guys left and right away. There is a moment, again, this is where you see the differences as you talked about between Julie and Lay, where after they have like this big shootout, you don't really see her right away, but Julie gets hit and she's shot dead. And Lay's just kind of like, again, shocked, or just her composure in it all is just like, she's sad for her friend, but then she's understanding that they're in a predicament. It's like she's able to keep her head level of what's going on. And then she also kind of like develops some sort of relation with Wilson. Like there's this connection they're making. And I'm glad that Carpenter didn't push it too hard to where like they're kissing or having sex. Like that would have been kind of weird.
Can you remember earlier on in the film, the start of the connection between them earlier on, because there's a scene where they first get put in the cells. And she's walking past the cells with like the books and all of that, and she stops and looks at him, and he goes, have you got a cigarette, right, sweetheart, or something? He says that, and she doesn't answer him. She just kind of keeps walking. But there's that look in the eyes, and then Thingy's character, is it, what did I say? Wells turns and goes, you know what, Wilson? You know what you're doing, or something like that. He says something like, so he knows that even though it's not said out loud, he's flirting with her and she's like taking it, like just getting the reaction
Yeah.
he wants of her.
And then even later when he does it again, he's like, "You got a cigarette?" And she actually puts it in his mouth.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he goes, "You got a light?"
Yeah.
And she was quite attractive, so hats off
Yeah.
to Lori Zimmer for that. But yeah, so they lose Julie. There does come one moment, and I believe it is Wells, where he's going to go through like their sewer system underneath and get to a car that's parked up by the back gate. And he succeeds in doing this. He gets in there, he hotwires the car, and he takes off to get to that phone booth. As he gets there, though, and again, I don't even know how far. Like, to me, in my world, like, he should have just kept driving further. But then again, maybe there would have been too many gang members to get past. I don't know, but because Bishop and everybody's inside, they can still see him driving to where the phone booth is. But once he gets there was somebody in the back seat and just shoots him right in the head, and it's over for him. But that was a weird scene because I'm like, one, how can they see where he is? Two, I would have driven further away, even though there's a guy in the back. If he wasn't there, I would have just drove further away and tried to find another cop somewhere. Like, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, like the one thing I would say about this gang, I like they make the gang not look stupid or weak.
Yes.
So, for example, you've mentioned they've got silenters. That's smart. So, like when they were there, you've got like obviously when the stuff going around the neighborhood, like you've got neighbors in the distance that can hear like screaming or shouting or glass breaking and gunfire, but no one can see what's happening. They deliberately move the cars into the direction so it looks like they're just parked outside the police station. Like there's nothing going on. There were bodies on the floor. They removed the bodies. They did everything. So obviously when the people in the distance heard the shooting, they did ring the police. And so they send a patrol car out. And as the patrol cars go around, one of the two cops in the patrol car, one of them so frustrated, he goes, "We've been going around this neighborhood, we keep getting these phone calls, we can hear gunfire. There's no signs of disruption or any sort of disturbance."
Even when his partner's like, "What's with those cars over there?" And he's like, "Oh, they've been pulling those out to take them to the tow yard or whatever, so they're nothing." But like his partner was more inquisitive about everything going on than the guy driving, which was always funny to me.
Yeah. But I just thought it was great how they made the gang not look stupid or weak. You know,
No.
they didn't just make them look like, you know, people that just failed at school and college and were bums who just decided to have a life of crime and cause chaos, who can be easily taken down. They actually make them come across very smart and they actually know what they're doing.
Yeah. And so, Wells gets taken out of the chance of getting on the phone to anywhere. And I think the two cops in the patrol car end up, did they get away or did they get shot? I can't remember.
So the stop the car. He's saying to be superior over the radio. We literally can't see a damn thing. It's dark. It's all of this. And then, he goes, "You need to send a chopper out with a light to patrol the area." And that's when they stop the car, and it's near, I guess, where there's a telephone truck, like a repair truck.
The guy's bleeding. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he has tapping on the roof, and you think, "Oh, great! I can't even find anything now because it's raining." But then he realized that doesn't sound like rain, so he steps out the car and he looks above and he uses his torch. And the guy from the telephone repair truck who was on the telephone wire above, he's been killed by the guy. And
Yep.
then I think that's when he says, you need to get your guys over here pronto. There's something serious going on. And I can't remember. I don't think we see them after that, because I think after that, it's the final assault on the prison.
Yeah.
And then on the precinct, sorry. And then it's obviously, as that goes down, the police obviously turn up at the end.
Yep. And so, yeah, then eventually the cops come again. And I don't know, they don't really have like this massive. I mean, there is this assault from the gang that's trying to attack Bishop and them, and Bishop and Wilson put up like this. It's not really a board, but it's
like a
enough.
giant metal signage.
Yeah, so it repels them, so they can't shoot them and hurt them. They end up like killing a lot of those guys in that little walkway where the cells were, and obviously once the cops get there, most of the damage has been done by Wilson and Bishop. And then of course there's this kind of like at the end, it's just, there is a cool moment where Bishop's like, the cops are trying to take Wilson back into custody, and Bishop's like, leave him alone. Like, it's like, even though he's got to go to jail, he doesn't want him to be roughed up because the dude just helped him save their lives. That's the thing.
I like the part with her where one of the I think it's one of the cops who gets taken out on a stretcher, and they bring her stretcher, and she refuses to go on it and just slowly walks up the door. She's trying to show, I think it's another flirtation thing with, showing him, like, look, I'm one tough cookie. Kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And she mentions that, she's been around the precinct for a long time. So she's just familiar with how it works and how the guys carry themselves. So
I think it's like a mixture of like flirting with him, but showing respect to the guys that saved her, but also showing that she's just as tough as them. And she's like part of the gang, like part of them, she's part of the police crew, because as you know, they probably will, men, women, whoever, when they first join the police, there'll be a lot of hazing, as you know, because the test you or the haze you just to, see how you can handle it. And then obviously if you fit in, and then it's a whole new ball game once you pass all that.
Yep. And we talked a little bit about the remake in 2005, and that cast was amazing. Ethan Hawke, Lawrence Fishburne, Maria Bello, Drea De Matteo from Sopranos, Gabriel Byrne, John Leguizamo, Brian Dennehy. There was just a lot of great actors in that. Now, one thing I did enjoy about the remake was it had more of a cohesive story.
Yeah.
So that was easier to kind of like get on board with, just because of what was going on. It is different than this film, obviously, but what did you prefer in terms of story, the remake or this one?
For me personally, despite having the same title, Assault on Precinct 13, for me the two have very different films.
Yeah.
And the two different vibes, the two different emotions that I felt, two different atmospheres. I like them both equally for what they are. And this is the first time I've seen the original, and I was pleasantly surprised. I got that 1970s feel and vibe from it. I got this, like I say, the music score's brilliant. I enjoyed, I liked the story. I liked the characters. I liked how you say, yes, it's a street gang, but they don't feel like a street gang. There's a lot more going on there with them. The remakes more feels like a modern day, like crime thriller more than like this. For me was like a survival actioner, where that one's more like a crime thriller kind of thing.
Yeah, because I think the remake had more to do with like police corruption rather than a gang. And obviously some of the prisoners became helpful in that movie as well, but it was just a whole different setup. It wasn't really based on an attack from
that's more like a full-on crime drama, where this is more like a crime survival flick. Set, like you see, it's just the atmosphere. It feels like it does feel like what we used to from John Carpenter's world.
Yep. So, what would be your final thoughts and ratings for your Assault on Precinct 13?
Love the music score. Love the characters. There was a lot of surprises in this that I didn't expect. The story has a very strong beginning, a really strong middle. I was kind of disappointed in the end because I thought like the build up of the gang and all that they did, and then it kind of happened too fast for me. This is probably one of them films where I was wanting a bigger, more climactic ending because
Yeah.
of the setup that it brought. But overall, first time viewing, loved it. Would watch it again just for the music score alone. Think it's fantastic. I thought John Carpenter once again's done a brilliant job. If I had to rate this, there are other John Carpenter films that I do prefer over this, but I still think this is a classic. I'm going to give this 7 out of 10.
Yep. Yeah, and it's interesting too because the gang, like, I'm kind of with you with that with the ending because we start with these 4 guys that are making this blood oath, and even though we lose one kind of like earlier in the film, you don't really have like a face off like you normally do with like the leaders of the gang and our
Yeah,
protagonists. So that was kind of in some ways a little disappointing because I'm figuring, well, these guys are running this gang. I kind of want to see them in their final moments with the people they're trying to kill. But it doesn't happen, but it's fine. I do like the feel, the music. Carpenter always does great with the music.
yeah,
No problems there. I'm with you also. I'm a 7 out of 10 on this one. It's not his best, obviously, but considering it's like his earliest film, it's really, really good. And again, he didn't mind pushing the envelope with like the child death and stuff like that. So he's
yeah,
definitely making his way to make a name
yeah.
for himself one way or the other.
Definitely, yeah. That's how I took this film. I took this film like obviously I think this is one of those films because of his cinema style, his storytelling, his music score. It's for its time, like you see, it came out before The Warrior. There was something about it that stood out. That immediately, as soon as I heard the music score and its black screen, I was like, "Oh, got me gripped." And then
Yeah.
see the gang get us, trying to rob, and then the LAPD, and there's that shootout. Immediately, I was like, right, this is interesting. So he knew how to grab you via music and the, good characters, unique and the story itself is different to the remake. And going back to what was said now, that I have a good thing about it, I think I actually do prefer the story of this one over the remake. But yeah, and I can understand why this film might have got him noticed, and then obviously he did Halloween, and then he did, They Live, The Thing, onward from there. So it's like any director, they have to have that one film in their style that gets them noticed, and then they always seem to go on to bigger things, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So let people know what's coming up on your channel. First, what is your pick for next month? Because it's going to be your turn.
Oh, I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I'm thinking between another film similar to this, or we might be going horror.
Okay. All
Because
right.
I don't think we've done many horror films on Cinematic Synergy.
We've done a few. We did some early. We've been kind
Yeah.
of all over the place since then. We've been going back and forth with like action or sci-fi. So yeah, we've been doing a few different things.
Yeah, so definitely might be the film that I might have mind, or could be a horror film I've got in mind. But
Okay.
you'll soon find out. People keep tuning in. Also, anybody that watches Cinematic Synergy, if you've got any suggestions for me and Anubis, put them in the comments below.
Yep.
Let us know if there's a certain film from a certain genre you would like us to review. Put it down in the comments.
Yeah, we'll take any recommendations for sure.
Yeah, definitely. As for me, tonight I am actually going to be live on Jedi Granville Productions because he's doing his 10 most influential film directors podcast. It's going to be myself, it's going to be, of course, Jedi Granville. it's going to be Anthony Jordan, and also joining us for the first time, Nenad, who is a friend of ours all the way from Germany. He's going to be joining us for that one. Outside of that, next week I do have the next Into the Darkness, I believe, is coming.
Sinister.
Yeah, that's going to be the Sinister double review. Tomorrow night, we'll also have the Rocky special. So Rocky, we're going to review the 5 films of Rocky tomorrow night. Then then on the 3rd of April, like I say, it's Into the Darkness, Sinister double review. Later that night, I'm going to be joined by my friend Jill, Bada Bing Gambling, and we're going to be talking The Sopranos. And one more thing, on the day after, which is the 4th, we're going to be doing the next retro classic movie show, which is Double Impact.
Little bit Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm-hmm.
As for me, obviously we're doing this, so you all that are watching this, you can see this later tonight. I'll be getting together with Samurai Guy and Rick Myers for the next action film Autopsy. We're talking about a little bit of the films in the list for this month that Rick has gone over. Tomorrow, I'll be part of that Rocky franchise discussion, of course, with Kevin Lambert on his channel. Mm-hmm. Saturday, Neko and I will be doing the best new metal albums of March. So be looking for the next episode of that. Mm-hmm. And that right now is all I've got slated. I haven't really set up much. I do have my Ghouls pick for next week, which will be a new movie coming out this year called The Yeti. I've got a screener for that.
Oh, I've seen the trailer for that. Did you not do a trailer reaction for that?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So I've chosen that as my pick for next week on Ghouls of Midnight.
Lucky bastard.
But yeah, so that's basically where we're at with that. Obviously, as more shit comes along, I'll let everybody know. We appreciate the support at Metal Tavern Radio. Obviously, again, if you guys have any recommendations for the Cinematic Synergy, any movies you want us to sit down and watch, we will take it upon consideration. But please go like and subscribe to Kevin Lambert Entertainment Headquarters. A lot of great content over there, a lot of great reviews, trailer reactions, and discussions. So good man over here. As always, yeah, subscribe
to the Metal Tavern Radio.
Again, as much appreciate the support as always, and enjoy the rest of your day, folks. We'll see you later and next time.